Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So better slightly late than never, and we are back again with my Ouchie Mastery Champion Compatibility sheet. Now obviously keep in mind this isn't a perfect or an exact list, this is kind of like my opinion, but it should also serve as a fairly general guide for those of you who are not used to running Liquid Courage Double Edge Recoil, to kind of know which champions from top of the, well, just to kind of focus on which champions handle those masteries better or worse. Now, the truth of the matter is that almost all of the champions can be used with Recoil, Liquid Courage Double Edge to an extent. Obviously, if you are using somebody that's quite uncompatible with them, like Professor X, you're not going to get more than a couple of fights out of them. But you can still bring in on your team and use Professor X for like 2 or 3 fights on the path in a quest. But it's important to know which champions actually can handle them better and worse. And it's also, so we're going to start with explanation of the rankings. Now, I have separated them by the class, and there are groups. So there are a group of champions that actually get significantly better if you have them on. And that improvement typically stems from either ability to heal throughout the fight, or some other abilities are getting triggered throughout. For instance, Kitty Pryde, while she's phasing, she's taking no damage, therefore having that poison does not only increase the damage, but it also really helps you unlock basically a permanent healing. Similar to Namor, whilst you're striking the opponent, your opponent's going to be taking all the damage from Liquid Courage Double Edge, and you're going to be healing because you have 2 debuffs placed on you. Obviously, Omega Red, you get start fight with the Death Field. Guardian, you get to heal at beginning of every fight. With Ghost, you get the Furies and therefore a lot more damage. And the same story is basically with every champion at the very top tier of compatibility. The fact that those champions actually get better. Now, moving on, the second highest tier is basically champions that handle them really, really well. Champions that either can shrug them off and therefore have no debuffs on them, they don't mess with those masteries, or have double immunities, or have an immunity and, either ability to regenerate, or just have a generic playstyle that doesn't necessarily require you to use lots of special attacks, kind of like with Shang-Chi, for instance, or She-Hulk. Like Quake doesn't have any immunities, but you pretty much never use special attack. And yeah, you will lose some health at the beginning of every fight, but assuming that the standard quest is about 6 fights, you can easily bring in Quake, and Quake all the way through the quest much quicker with much more damage, and you will have enough HP left for the entire thing. So the second tier is basically champions that get a significant damage boost and don't really get any downside for it. So it's still very, very, very good. The difference from the top tier is that the top tier actually benefits, and that makes those champions more effective aside just from damage. There are additional benefits to it. Like even with Mole Man, the fact that you start with 2 monster mass basically, and Hitmonkey with his crits also actually does benefit quite a bit with these guaranteed crit champions. Actually, I suppose Hitmonkey is supposed to be here. Let me correct that. Hitmonkey is supposed to be here, unlike Mole Man, because for Mole Man it's quite much more important, because you start the fight with 2 of the monster mass. For Karnak, again, you just get throughout infinite healing there, so on and so forth. Right. And then handle quite well are champions who have either 1 or 2 immunities, and you will do just fine. Basically, this is, champions that do not necessarily overly rely on spamming special attacks and will have 1 or both immunities, but if they are double immune in this tier, then that means probably you will require using plenty of special attacks, kind of like with Dormammu, for instance. With Dormammu, the biggest problem is chip damage, and any additional damage that you take using Dormammu significantly lessens the amount of fights you can take with him. So even though he's double immune, in most cases you typically do want to use your level 1s and level 2s, plus you take a lot of chip damage, and it's not necessarily the greatest thing. He's still very, very good. It's just that, there will be fights where you'd rather start using special trees exclusively. It's kind of similar with Hyperion. Hyperion has a regeneration, he has poison immunity, but you will not want to be spamming level 1s, right? You will want to typically go up to level 3 and then go to level 2s, and you will have to alter your playstyle slightly or to a degree, but you will still be able to benefit from having increased attack from Liquid Courage Double Edge and special attack damage. It's just that they do not handle those masteries quite as well as the champions above. And then usable, not preferred, where we can see that most classes has like a ton of champions in here. They're really not ideal. You can bring in a champion when you need an answer for specific fight or two. In case of Nick Fury, he obviously does actually, in case of Nick Fury could actually be handled quite well because of the second life. But in general, these are the champions that you can bring in a quest. Even if you run Liquid Courage Double Edge, you'll get like 3 fights out of them typically if they are content ranked appropriately. And that's about where the journey is going to end. They do all right. They can be used. It's just that they're not going to be your go-to options if you're running Liquid Courage Double Edge as your planning team around them. And then barely usable are the champions that really, really don't like them. Like Night Thrasher. Night Thrasher, by definition, is having you drop like 3 level 1s as his ramp-up process, and then level 2. Plus, he has no immunities. That means that at the very bare minimum, you're going to be taking like 25% damage just to ramp up. Similar as Professor X, just spamming special attacks. Recoil is going to eat you alive. Like Red Goblin and Carnage. Like Carnage really, really spams special attacks, similar to both of the Visions. And you're just going to absolutely destroy yourself with Recoil. Suppose Void actually should be 1 tier higher here, whilst we're at it, whilst I'm doing some adjustments. As I said, it's not perfect, it's just thereabouts, so people have a generic idea how well these champions handle them. And then nobody cares tier is, I initially started ranking them, you know, oh, Drax handle them this good or that good. But the truth of the matter is, nobody cares. Like, okay, you're gonna rank up Drax. Why? Even if you run Liquid Courage or Double Edge, or if you don't run Liquid Courage Double Edge, you're probably not really gonna rank up Drax. There are some champions that people do rank, like Nova or Guillotine, because, you know, they like those champions quite a lot. But, you know, if you like them that much, you probably know at heart whether they're good or bad with Liquid Courage Double Edge. But yeah, these are just the champions that in general, most of the people will not either rank at all or will not ever rank due to their compatibility with Liquid Courage Double Edge. Let me just put it like that. And that is about it. Few more kind of like footnotes. Obviously, we have Nick Fury plus Deadpool synergy. Everyone basically gets to move a tier up. Like if you have the Nick Fury and Deadpool synergy, then, you know, pretty much all of the champions here kind of move a tier up, because they just become significantly more useful, because you get rid of one of the debuffs and you get a heal at the beginning of the fight, which can help you either offset recoil or just give you a net heal. And with mutants are quite a unique class. Mutants have the ability to be made Horsemen of Apocalypse, and you have Professor X synergies. And pending basically how many of those things you have applied, you can make any mutant Liquid Courage and Double Edge God. That's about it. You can pretty much make any mutant, except Professor X, I guess I should say, Liquid Courage Double Edge God, because Professor X synergy with Wolverines and Colossus can make all of them 72% less, well, poison resistant. That means you will have healing throughout all of the fight. And then obviously making Horsemen of Apocalypse makes them 100% less bleed damage. And that will mean just that, you know, you get to heal at the beginning of the fight as if you were using like Corvus or something. So mutants have the luxury of every single champion except like Professor X actually becoming significantly better with those masteries if you set it up properly by making a champion Horseman of Apocalypse by having the Professor X synergy. And Tech has a similar thing, because War Machine can help Tech champions that are not double immune get rid of both of the debuffs, thus, you know, further kind of helping out. So for instance, you can have Stark Enhanced Spider-Man move up to a point where you handle them quite well, because you can easily purify your Liquid Courage Double Edge. And yeah, then you're going to take that recoil, but, you know, with Starky, for instance, what are you going to do? You're going to drop some level 2s and, you know, you're not going to need that many to finish off a fight. So yeah, tech champions also have that war machine. As it goes for other classes, you don't really get that much. There are some champions on an individual level that we can talk about now, like Hawkeye used to be barely usable, but now Hawkeye can have a very good setup with Nick Fury with Deadpool, where he's going to become poison immune. Then Nick Fury is going to purify the bleed, and then he can, you know, get rid of both debuffs. So there are different situations, obviously, where you can tune and synergize champions, where you can kind of increase their compatibility with recoil. But again, this is just kind of like a generic chart if you just want to check whereabouts some champions are when it comes to how well you can use them with Liquid Courage Double Edge. And again, by no means I'm trying to imply that the sheet is perfect or anything like that. So I will leave this sheet in the video description below so you can check it out. You can take a screenshot of it and all that other good stuff. And yeah, I'm going to pin a comment, leave a description, leave a link in the description. And well, hopefully you guys find this thing useful. See ya. Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information about